Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me today. We are going to be painting a really fun project. This is a rooster. It's the year of the rooster in the Chinese New Year. Just started last week, and so I thought we'd do a rooster. I've never painted one before, so it was kind of a fun challenge. It was a lot easier than I thought it would be, so it's definitely in the beginner range projects. I think the beak was probably the most difficult part of it. The rest of it was really very, very easy. So I'm going to show you step by step all the way through it, how to draw it and everything. I've got my husband Mark here.
Hey there, everybody.
He's going to be manning the chat during our live show. So if you've got any questions for us, you can put those in all caps and he will get those to me when I have a chance. And we are using acrylics today. Let me show you our palette here. I'll keep my paints in my plastic bag to keep them moist. And I use foam plates, but there's all kinds of different palettes you can use. So I've got titanium white, unbleached titanium, cadmium yellow medium, yellow oxide, cadmium red medium, or Pyrrole red. I'm using Pyrrole red, but you can use cadmium red medium instead. Phthalo blue green shade, any black, this is carbon black, and burnt umber. So pretty limited palette. And I decided to do the background with kind of a greenish, I don't know, I thought it was kind of a farmhouse sort of aged look. I found a photograph that had a chicken in front of an old weathered wood bench or something, so I kind of used that as my inspiration and made it a little bit more blue or more green. So, but you can use whatever color you'd like. I think it'd look cool on a red background or whatever. You would just change the colors a little bit when we're doing our fence, but you're going to mainly use the same colors, like the browns and the off-whites and things like that, and then just change out the main color depending on what you want to do with it. So.
Somebody's asked, could you show the difference between the pyro and the cadmium reds?
Yes, I can. There is Pyrrole and there is the cadmium. So cadmium's just a little bit more orange. And there's cadmium red light in between them. So I just chose it because it was kind of a more like medium red color. It's kind of a cherry red. And then there's also naphthol crimson that you could substitute it to. That was more on the purple side. So I just went with a basic medium red, and Pyrrole kind of fit the bill for it. But definitely, by all means, use whatever reds you happen to have on hand. It's not going to matter that much. So. All right, let's get this background going. I love doing these kind of faux wood backgrounds. They're a lot of fun, and they're super easy. So I'm going to use, let's see, I'll go ahead and use my large flat brush, 1-inch flat, and I'm going to pull in my chip brush. This is like a gesso brush, 2-inch, to do some of the fence stuff. But if you don't have one of these, I did my example with my regular, this brush. So you don't have to have the chip brush. It just kind of helps because it's a little scruffy to begin with, so it sort of helps make that kind of texture that we want. All right, so I'm going to start out by mixing a green. I'm going to use a lot of phthalo blue and a little bit of yellow. I need more of that phthalo blue. I think I made it too green. And I'm going to mix up a bunch of the base color, and then we'll add white to it to soften it, but just kind of want to get it sort of a nice turquoise color. If you have turquoise, you could just use that instead. That'll work, I think. And then we'll grab some white. That's beautiful. I actually do want it a little bit more green. So, whoops, probably not that much though. There we go. So I'm going to leave some of it nice and dark, and then I'll have a little bit more to work with that's the lighter colors, and I'm just going to streak it on. I do want a little bit more yellow in there. We'll just mix it as we go. Grab some white. I'm going to spray my canvas just once, just to help it absorb this paint a little bit easier. I've got a 12 by 16 canvas panel. So, but you can use whatever canvas size you've got. This will adapt to pretty much any size canvas, but I would kind of do one that's gives you enough room for the tail. So, you know, that's do it in portrait style, maybe. So you have room for his big fluffy tail to go in there. I'm going to start with kind of a medium color, and then I'm going to add our lighter colors and the browns on top. So, and I'm just going to put them on in this kind of diagonal, or horizontal, I should say, direction, so that if any streaks show, it'll already kind of have that feel that we're going for with the wood fence. That is a lot greener than there we go. Add some yellow to it. And I kind of like having these sort of varied colors. If you want yours to be a little bit more solidly colored, you can be a little bit more careful with it. I'm going to put some white streaks up here. Soften that up a little bit. It's that kind of retro kitchen feel. I felt like this would look good in one of those kitchens that's got one of those like green, old retro green refrigerators. Like you've seen those. Kind of what I was thinking when I made this. I thought it'd be nice to have one. Maybe not though. It'd probably be temperamental.
Well, we could go to the junkyard and find just one.
Maybe paint it up.
Yeah.
No, it always sounds better in theory than it probably is in practice. Okay, so we're just basically repeating all the way down the thing here. Mark and I were looking up what our, if you are the Year of the Rooster, congratulations. Happy Year of the Rooster, if that's your birthday sign.
Is it happy or merry?
Merry, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Well, it's the Chinese New Year, so whatever their word for that would be, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't either. But what was yours, honey?
Mine is a monkey.
Monkey. Oh, so last year was because last year was the year of the monkey.
Oh, we didn't do anything special.
I know. I was going to paint a monkey last year. Honestly, had it kind of in the back of my mind to do, and I never got around to it. I'm not a big monkey. Well, I guess I like you, so I was just going to say I'm not a big monkey person, but
okay, I see. The truth comes out on
well, and you're not a
live.
big dog person either. That's mine. So
Okay, so it's mutual. The feeling is mutual.
we don't really particularly like our
Chinese zodiac signs.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody asked, do you always spray your canvases?
If I feel like it's not going on smoothly, I do. It just kind of depends.
So
If
why
I'm
do you
using
spray
a softer, if I'm using a softer body paint, I don't really have to, because the paint will go on a little bit more smoothly. But the heavy body acrylics, they're so thick that sometimes they catch, especially on a raw canvas, they catch in these little textured cracks and things, and they just don't go on very smoothly. So you really have to work at it, and having a little bit of water on the canvas sometimes helps make it move. But
So here's a retro question.
yes.
Somebody's asked, can they varnish a pellet knife painting?
Yeah, but I would, yes, and you want to. I would use a spray varnish instead of a brush on varnish for that, because the brush on varnish will get caught in the little cracks and stuff.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, and it's so highly textured, but let it dry for a while, like a couple weeks probably before you do that.
Because the paint's thicker.
Right, the paint's
Particularly?
thicker. It'll
Okay.
take a little bit while for it to cure. So, all right, looks kind of like an ocean almost.
We doing another mermaid?
I'm not, but
Okay.
it could work for that. Okay, so ideally I would let this dry. Let me see if
Did I hear somebody say dry?
I might need you to. Let me see what it does here. I just don't want it to lift off if it's starting to dry too much. Yeah, it's doing all right. Okay, so I'm going to grab my brown now. I haven't changed my brush out. Let me go ahead and do that.
I kind of feel like a dog right now. I'm kind of sitting here with my head tilted, waiting to
Dry?
see. Am I
I
going to
gonna
dry? Dry?
Are we going to dry? Yeah, go ahead and
All
let's
right.
dry. Let's dry it. Just do it quickly as you can. What?
You want to get loud?
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's all right. I'm just trying to decide what I wanted to say. I did the lines with the ruler on here, but then I realized I didn't have a big enough ruler to do it on my larger canvas. So I think what I'm going to do is just use my another canvas that's already sealed up. This has got its shrink wrap on it, so the paint won't get onto the canvas. And I'm just going to use it to do my lines here. But if you have a large ruler, you might want that for the next part that we're going to be doing. So let me see. Yeah, that's good. Thank you, honey. Okay, so I'm going to grab the chip brush, and I'm not going to add water to it. I might add just a teeny tiny bit just to moisten it, but I really want to keep it fairly dry and scruffy. Whoops. Yeah, so that's too much water. Just barely dip it in and then kind of wipe it off. You just want it barely damp. And I'm going to grab some of this brown on it, just a little bit, and just kind of scrub it in along the edge there. And then we're going to drag it across the canvas. And I think I might need a little bit more water. I'm going to spray my palette here so I got a little bit of water to work with. It'll help it go on a little bit more smoothly. There we go. Put streaks. I'm just going to run these horizontal streaks here. I think I was having better luck with my brush. Let me go switch back to my brush and see if I like that better. I feel like you're not seeing this as much. Let's try with the brush. Yeah, that's better. It's a little bit darker. I'm going to concentrate some dark color in my corners and along the edges where the wood would be chipped or the paint would be chipped through so that you're seeing the wood underneath. And then I'm going to grab some of my white.
Somebody's asked, could they glaze on the brown with medium?
Yes, you could. Yeah, you could, as long as you get the streaks in it. That's the main thing. You just want these streaks happening. So I feel like this looks really dark on screen. Is it dark today? Do I need to bump up the lightness?
We'll ask.
Yeah.
Well, we did. No, we just
know.
wait.
Well, we wait. See what people say.
People are letting each other know what they are in chat as far as their Chinese zodiac
I
signs.
see.
They're not paying attention.
They're not listening to the
No.
lesson.
Let's see. So Stickman was born last year, and so he's a monkey also.
That's true. He is.
All right.
Is that what they were saying?
No. I was just.
That was just you were
I just thought of
coming
that.
up with it.
That's where my mind is right now.
You're worried about Stickman. Stickman's not coming out until the very end of the show from now on because YouTube's got a new feature where I know you're laughing already because you know what I'm going to say. YouTube's got a new feature where if you hover your mouse over the thumbnail of a video, it'll show you a clip from inside the video. And so I was like experimenting, just seeing kind of what parts of my videos were being shown in my little previews. And for my angel video, all you can see is Stickman. A horrible drawing and painting. I was like, people are going to go like, what the heck? That is not an angel. I promise you there is an angel painting in there somewhere if you... But oh my goodness. I was like, of all the things. So Stickman is not coming out to the end of my videos from now on, so he doesn't end up in the thumbnail at the very beginning. Because it looked like it was kind of taking the thumbnail from about 10, 20 minutes in or so, you know. So it was probably when you were blow drying. I probably had done the background for it and you were blow drying it and then brought out Stickman and it showed that part. Like of all the parts of the video, that's what they showed.
It's the best part. They know that's what people want.
That's true. Well, but if they don't know my channel, they're probably like, what the heck? Okay, so that's pretty good. I think that's good enough. Let's go ahead and put in our lines, and then we can kind of see where we want to do the rest. So there, I kind of judged actually using the brush, because these are about it's 2 inches, so it kind of worked out perfectly to have this be our guide. Oh wait, maybe not. Okay, I must have been giving myself a little bit of leeway. Let's do that. Well, I was doing it earlier and kind of using it as, so that needs to come down a little bit. That needs to come down a little bit. There's a reason why we use chalk. It's just a lot easier, so we can make adjustments. Yeah, okay, so there. That one came up, I think, to the middle there. Okay, somewhere in there. Hopefully we'll get this about even. And I'm just going to set that down and take my brush here. Get some nice dark brown. I might even grab a little tiny bit of black just to make it nice and dark. Press it flat so I get a good chiseled edge on it. I'm just going to run it along that edge of my board to get my line. And then I'll go down to the next one. Do the same thing. I may have to reload. Good. Here's another one. And then our last one here. And I'm just using the edges to kind of push against so that I know I'm getting it square. If you have a T-square ruler, that's probably your best bet. There we go. Perfectly straight lines. Were they saying that it was dark, hun? Or was it okay?
It was kind of, yeah, a little bit dark, but...
Okay, let me see if I can bump it up. There we go. Oops, sorry, you're getting to see that on screen probably. Behind the scenes shot there. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. I might need you to, whoops, I don't want to wipe off our paint there. Let me clean that brush off a little bit. Grab some more of this white. Well,
Yep.
better?
Well, no, you can see it.
You can see it on the screen,
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right.
So somebody was asking in the chat about traceables, and I
Yes.
let them know that the traceables are available through your Patreon account.
Yes.
It's $1 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody asked, can they pay for a whole year at one time? And I don't know that
I
answer.
don't think so, but I think what you can do is put the money in your PayPal account, and then it will take it out automatically, so you don't have to do anything. You can just put in the full year's worth of. But you can look on Patreon, because I've had a few people asking that this week, and I really don't know. I need to look into that and find out. I don't think so, but I could be totally wrong. So maybe you can look. Well, you don't. You have other things to do. I was going to say you could look during the show here, but okay. Once this is dry, I don't want to do it over the top of it while it's wet, but once it's dry, I'm going to go ahead and darken up around the sides of that board, and that'll make it look like that those edges are weathered too. So go along that line and just kind of add some of this darker color on either side of that line. It'll kind of set it back in and just make it look like it's not floating on top of our boards. Make it look like it's part of them. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this background because our rooster is going to be our main focal point, but I do want this background to be kind of interesting for him to set against. So there we go. And then if you want to get real fancy, you could go in and add some details on the boards, knots and whatever else, or even nails, or just whatever seems good to you. I have a couple other videos where I did a little bit more in depth on the boards. I'm trying to think of, the one with the wreath at Christmas time.
Yeah, you did the one with the words, the faith, hope,
Yeah,
and
the
love.
faith, hope, love one,
Mhm.
and then with the arrows, and then I did one with the one with the wreath, with the berry wreath. That one had knots and things in the wood. So I'm going to just add a few little dark areas here to kind of. There we go. Let me add, we'll clean that out. Just want to add a few more highlights and then we'll be done with this. I'm going to grab a little bit more of my blue color if I can find any. This looks like it's all drying on me. I'll make some more. Used up more than I thought I needed. Some more phthalo blue. I'll need more of that phthalo blue later anyways.
So what brown color did you use to do the lines? The line of the
Burnt
boards?
umber.
Just a straight burnt umber.
Burnt umber with a little bit of black mixed into it just to make it
Okay.
a little bit darker.
So you just mix it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I just mixed it up. And just a touch of black, not a lot. What am I doing? Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm mixing up some of this green. There we go. So I'm going to make like a lighter version of that green that's in the background. And we'll just put a little bit of that in. Keep it kind of toward the middle-ish. And keep it horizontal, if at all possible. Just brighten up that color a little bit. Okay, I think we're good. It's kind of cool. I think it looks like wood. At least on my end it does. And I don't think I'm going to need to dry it. I think it's kind of dry enough. I'll kind of talk about the chicken or the rooster a little bit for a second here, and then we can go to drying it. But if you look at the rooster, the main shape right here in the middle is this deep V, right? So if you get this angle right, I think the rest of it's pretty easy to draw, because then this part is just parallel to that, and then this part is sort of parallel in this direction, right? So we're going to draw, this is our kind of first thing. There's a circle for the head, and then a curve over the top of the head down into this deep curving V, and then back up and out. And all of the tail feathers are going to come from the rump area right here that you're not seeing, but as long as you make sure that they all kind of flow up and out from there, they'll look like they're attached to the rooster and not floating out in space. So just making sure that all of these sort of point back down into here, and then the rest of these are going to kind of come off the body. So, and then there's going to be a deep kind of curve back in from the chest right here up to the circle that we'll draw. So, okay, we're done. Just need a second there to let it dry. All right, so the placement, the picture that I was using as a reference, the rooster was roosting on a board, so you didn't actually see his feet. So I'm taking advantage of that because, you know, the feet are the hardest part and for some people to get right. So I thought to keep this a little bit easier, we would just eliminate the feet altogether, because I was really interested more in drawing or painting these really fun tail feathers. That's kind of the best part of the rooster, I think. So, so I'm going to put him a little bit front from center. So I'm going to find the center mark, and here and here, this is our center. And I'm going to do his body just below that. So the deep part of that V, this part here, is going to come down from center, and you'll see it's like a little bit off from the middle too. So here's the center of this one, would be right here, and in fact I think I'm going to move him even a little bit more over so that I have even more room, because I ran out of room on this side for his tail feathers, and there's plenty of room on this side to move him that way. So I'm going to move him to about right here, I think, so that I've got his head right here. And then we have this large V happening right about here, and it's going to come back up just before this mark here, and then come up and out. And have all this room for all these feathers here. Then this is going to be about right there. And he's going to go off the bottom. I might even bring him a little bit lower now that I'm looking. I don't know, we'll see when we get to painting him. His breast is going to have the same angle as this, so just bring it out nice and far this way. And then right about just below the midway mark, you're going to start curving it back in, and it's going to curve back to right there. So that's your rooster body shape. Looks really weird, but it'll work. There. Then his wattle's going to come out like this, and his beak's going to come, if you kind of split this circle down the middle, the eye is sort of right on top, and the beak sort of comes out from there too. So, and it kind of curves down a little bit. It's probably not that far. Like that. Then the headpiece comes from the beak. What's this top part called? His crest? No, it's not that. What's it called?
Oh, man.
And curves around like that.
I knew that once.
I should know that. I don't know my rooster anatomy.
Okay, let's see what Google says.
I'm sure somebody knows. Well, this head thing here is going to come up.
Okay, so I'll Google rooster head thing.
Hit rooster head thing. Well, I know this bottom part's a wattle, but I don't know what the top part is called. Okay.
It actually suggested rooster head thing.
Did it really? When you
I just put a rooster head, and it said rooster head thing. It's called a comb.
Comb. Okay, comb. Yes, that makes that makes sense. All right, so I'm just making sure I've got these dimensions right, that his head's big enough for his body and all that. But his head's actually very, very small compared to the rest of his body, so I think we've got it just about right. I'm kind of liking this. His feathers are going to come up here, and then his tail feathers come up as high as the top of his head, so we can get really fun long lines with those. And I'm not going to worry too much about putting them all in, because we'll shape those out as we go. Mark's over there laughing, so I'm sure people are...
Chad blew up with comb.
Comb.
Yeah. So if we have any questions that we need answered, it doesn't have to be painting related. We'll just ask and they'll tell us.
Well, good.
Yeah.
That's nice.
We need any investment strategies or anything like that. Like E.F. Hutton.
I wish we had the money for that. I wish we needed that. Oh, okay. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. He's got plenty of room there. We may decide to bring out his tail feathers a little bit more in this direction, but we'll see. Once I start putting them in, it'll be a little bit easier to tell. I did most of the painting with this brush. This is a 1/2" bright Simmons Titanium number 6. And it worked out really well for the feathers because it's very stiff. So it gave me a good resistance to get these little feathers in. So the main part of his body is black and gray. I'm going to go ahead and start, and I'm going to use some glazing medium just to make it a little bit easier for this paint to smooth on there. This is golden acrylic glazing.
Somebody's asked, what brand of brush are you using?
I just mentioned it.
Oh,
this
good.
Is the Simmons Titanium.
I was paying attention.
Well, they probably asked it just before I mentioned it.
Yep. So they'll hear twice.
That's all right. That's all right. They are really, Simmons are pretty much my favorite brush brand. The sapphire I'll be using later are the blue handled ones, and then the gray ones are the titanium line. And then there's also the Simply Simmons, which is a little bit of their more economical line of brushes. And you want to get the extra firm in those ones. So any kind of Taklon or Nylon or synthetics are what you're mainly going to want to use for acrylic painting. So I'm going to put this black in kind of in this direction, and then we'll put the gray up here. So I'm just going to fill in sort of in the direction that the feathers grow. So if any of the lines show through the paint, it'll look like we meant to do that. And if you notice, I kind of did the outline of the body a little bit jagged, so it's not perfectly even, because I want it to look a little bit scalloped, so like those feathers are happening. This direction, I'm going to really do that. These ones kind of fall flat to the breast a little bit more, but these ones on this back side just kind of stick out his rump. So we can use this brush and just flick as we go along this back side of the rooster. Give it a nice uneven texture in his tail feathers here. I'm just really working this paint into the canvas, trying to make sure I cover up all that background color. And once I start getting up in this direction, this will be sort of the center of the back, of the rooster. So once I get past that point, I'm going to start angling my feathers up and up around that spot, if that makes sense. So these ones were kind of pointing more into the body, but then once I get past this little, really that spot right there, we're going to start angling these feathers, curving them so that they look like they're coming down from this point in here somewhere. That makes sense. Okay, and we want to get this nice black color all the way up underneath here, even underneath where some of our white feathers are going to be, because we want that contrast to be there. And we'll start moving this color into more of a gray up in here, but this is all going to be black feathers.
I read somewhere that the part that people have the most difficulty when they're painting roosters is catching them.
Don't make me laugh. That's the most difficult part of painting them?
Yeah.
Is catching them?
Yeah, catching them. And then, they're not too agreeable much after that. So if it's your first
We crack ourselves up. Oh my gosh. Mark's trying not to laugh over there. He's laughing so hard. He had to mute his mic. Okay, so there's a few like random large feathers that kind of stick up this way. So I'm gonna do those with the flat part of my brush. Oops, I got a little bit of blue there. That's all right. And then there's a few feathers that kind of curve around here. Actually, I think I'm going to keep those curved ones up higher. So I need a little bit more black. Well, we're just laying the foundation right now for our other colors to go on top. Were you going to say something else about catching?
I was just going to say you might want to use spray paint instead of acrylic. It might be easier the first few times to get the hang of it.
To get as close.
Right. Chase them around with the spray can.
Right. Oh my goodness.
They have talons, so you got to be careful.
They
will
do.
Scratch you up.
Yeah, they would.
But we did have chickens growing up. My dad had them, and we had them for eggs. And then one year he decided that he'd get a rooster. So to try to reproduce, we went out to buy chicks the next year. And man, that rooster was protective.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I remember I was youngest, and I remember watching my brother go into the hen house to collect eggs. Man, and that rooster attacked him. He would have to go in there with a stick and beat the thing off. I mean, it was very protective of the chickens. I was just glad I didn't have to go in there and do it myself. Yeah.
Yeah, you were glad you were young enough you didn't have to go after the eggs. That's awesome. Oh, goodness. Okay, so now we've got these long feathers here. I think I'm going to start from the end and pull in. That way I can get a nice chiseled edge on some of these. There we go. Like that. Kind of keep them random. And honestly, I'm not really going by my picture anymore. I'm just sort of looking at where I have space and thinking maybe a feather. There's these long ones that kind of come in here. I'll make this one a little bit thicker. There we go. And then we'll curve some more feathers in this direction here, but I think those are pretty good. Maybe make this one a little bit bigger. And I think that this one's a little bit longer here. Put a couple of random ones that are a little bit longer, unexpected, kind of sticking out. Notice I'm kind of making this back end sort of messy. There's some that kind of come up this way, and then there's some that kind of curve, and that's you can kind of see the picture here. You know, this one's got really long feathers. This other guy's got, you can see some here, some this way. And I have another picture that I was looking at too, but there we go. Okay, good. We'll let that dry, and let's go ahead and make our gray for the body. We still want to keep it fairly dark, but I do want it a little bit lighter than the black. And we'll fill in the body up this way towards the head with this darker gray color. And just blend it down into our black. We're just laying the foundation here. This is the most boring part. The rest of it is really fun. Once we get to set these feathers in there, I think it's really... And one thing I will say when you're doing the feathers, don't I wouldn't worry about each individual feather. So don't get caught up in, you know, taking, you know, 2 hours to do each little feather placed perfectly. I think that it'll look more natural and you'll have more fun at it. I guarantee it, if you just sort of move quickly when you're putting in the, I'm going to go around the back side of that eye where I drew it and pretty close in, and we'll put the red on top, but I'm going to go ahead and cover up some of that area where I'm going to put the wattle in. We'll put the rest of it in on top. I just want to make sure that I don't have any gaps between the wattle and the feathers. Okay, so there's our main rooster. Wasn't hard. Now we're going to start in with the white. I do need a lot more white. And I'm going to still keep this brush. And to begin with, I'm not even going to clean it out. I'm just going to start up here at the top, and I'm going to tap in some feathers over the top of that gray, and it's still wet, so it's going to blend a little bit. But let me zoom in. I feel like I'm too far away. There we go. Get to see a little bit better what I'm doing. So I'm just going to tap in some random, and I'm setting it down and pulling it just slightly towards the face. So they're going to kind of all radiate around the face like this. Kind of like it's the sun. And these are all rays coming off of it. Leave plenty of space, though, between your feathers to start with, so you've got that dark underneath. And then go outside the edge of what you've drawn or what you've painted to do these feathers coming off the back of his head. Okay, as we go down the neck, I'm going to kind of turn. This middle part is going to kind of come straight, and then it's going to sort of go this way. So if you think about the face being sort of the center of all attention, all of these feathers are going to kind of go toward it. So, like that. And just moving my brush slightly back and forth around. Press your brush flat so you get a good chiseled edge so you can get nice straight feathers. The harder you press, the thicker your feather will be. So if you want thin feathers, just press very lightly. Reload often. Get a little bit more glazing medium out. Make my paint a little smoother to work with, or you could add a little white water if you don't have glazing medium. And grab some of this gray and just put a little bit of the gray on the outside here too. And you notice I'm kind of working from the top down. So if you want to, if you're having trouble and you're covering over the end of your feathers, what you could do is work from the bottom up. That might have been easier, so that like if you've got those sort of feathers there, then you can kind of come in between and work around them and not cover over the heads. Mainly what you're wanting to do is avoid covering over this part, because that's the head of the feather. So when you do your next layers, I'm just kind of trying to avoid those if possible. All right, and once I get down to the V right here, right, the end of that, then these feathers are going to start changing. They're going to get a little bit longer, and then they're going to turn into these really pretty V-shaped feathers. So I'll show you the picture here. So we're going to do these like V-shaped, light white-tipped feathers, and then these ones are going to be kind of curved and have a little bit of streaks in them. So I'm going to switch over to a angle brush for those and to make it a little bit easier to control. So this is a 3/8 inch angle brush, and I'm going to load it with black. Then I'm going to grab white on the tip and blend those together. And this is called double loading. If you get too much of one color, you can just touch in with the back end. So if I need a little bit more black, I can touch in there. If I need a little bit more white, I can just touch in that side. And just find a clean spot on your palette to blend them. And then I'm going to start putting in some of these little V-shaped feathers. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I need to put these blue ones in underneath. So I think I'm going to wait on this now that I've got this out here. I'm going to do some of the blue ones first. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of white with my blue. So he's got a little bit of blue tinged feathers. And I'm going to mix just a little bit of yellow in with it. Let's get the yellow oxide and see what that does. Yeah, that'll make it a little bit more of a neutral green blue.
Somebody asked, would you attempt this painting using a palette knife?
You could, yeah. You could do that. Yeah, I've seen rooster paintings done with palette knives that were great. Yeah.
But would you?
Would I? Yeah, why not? I mean, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you would just do your feathers sort of in the way that I did, you know, with the brush strokes, and just, you know, lay them on in that direction. You know, you'd have to have the right shaped palette knife, but I definitely think it would work.
And it seems like you'd go through a lot of paint.
Yeah, you would. You would. So I'm going to add some, these are going to look really bright. Let's add a little bit of gray to it to tone it down a little bit. I don't want it so bright. So we'll add some of this gray. There we go. We'll put in some feathers down in here. And then we'll cover over them. Grab some of the more of this yellow oxide. We'll do a few with the yellow oxide green color.
Someone's asking for a zoom out.
Okay. Okay. If you get too much of, like this one got a little bit big on me, I think I'm just going to go back in with a little bit of black. Kind of tone that down a little bit. And then I'll go back in with that darker blue, but the phthalo blue is so transparent that if I go in with straight phthalo, it's going to disappear against that black. So I have to put a little bit of a lighter color underneath, and that way when I put the phthalo on top, it will have something to work against, that lighter color to work against. So I'm going to work that. I'm going to grab some of the unbleached titanium and some black there, maybe a little bit of brown, make kind of a gray-brown color. Still have that blue in my brush. There's a couple of feathers off the back end here that are pretty highlighted, so get a little bit more light color. There we go. Just adding. Now we've already got our bases, so now we're just kind of adding layers and creating a story in here with these feathers that we've already laid down. So and we'll be putting in feathers on top of this, covering up a lot of this with those V-shaped feathers, but that's why I didn't continue with those, because I wanted to make sure I had all of this underneath first. So let's put in a few more of these. These ones are going to kind of go in this direction. The wing kind of comes down right here, sort of straight. So I'm going to make sure I have some of those feathers going in that direction. And then up and around here, they're more gray. So I'm going to grab some of that gray color. Put in a few light feathers, just a few indications of feathers coming up this way. And then I'm going to grab some white, just a very little bit. It'll mix with the other colors that I've got. I'm going to start putting in some of these indications of these sort of rounded feathers here. And there's a lot of space in between. There's like these dark spaces around them, so they're like got stripes in the feathers or something. So I can go back in and load a little bit just on the tip of my brush so I can control it a little bit better. A little bit more. Just on the very tip. There we go. So I can lay in just some layering, some feathers here that and I'm sort of setting it down and doing these like U-shaped brush strokes. So set it down and kind of pulling up and around. So I get these kind of feather shapes. And then I'm going to go back in and kind of tap in just a few of these and tap in some brighter color around a few of them. I'm doing a little bit more detail than what I did on my example one, but and then let's grab some gray. And right up here at the very front of his breast, there's a few feathers that are sort of highlighted there. And that's about all we need to do on the front side of him. I'm going to sort of fade those out a little bit right there, and then I'm going to add a few more of these feathers coming down with the white over the top. Just bring them down over that area to set those back a little bit. All right. I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow oxide, mix that with my white. I'm going to go in here and add some yellow oxide here and there in these feathers, very randomly, just so that I have kind of another color happening up there. I still have some blue in my paint brush, so it's kind of mixing and making other colors. This comes down a little bit more right here. So I'm going to grab a little bit more of that white, put a few more of these U-shaped feathers in here. There we go. And then we're going to start doing these V-shaped ones. And the first layer back here is gray.
All right, we've had a zoom in, a zoom out, and now people are saying maybe zoom back
Zoom
in.
back in?
Maybe when you're just doing those U shapes so they can see
Okay.
the stroke a little bit.
Whoops, wrong way. There we go. Which way am I going?
The zooming in.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. Just for these U strokes. So
Yeah, just so they can kind of see the...
just kind of barely touching down and pulling around. The brush, it's got a lot of colors on it, but the main white is just a very tip of it, so that I've got a little bit more control. And it's just setting down, tapping in this kind of U-shaped direction. I don't really need any more of this color here, so I'm trying to find places that I can show you. But and then over here there was just a little bit in this front part of the breast too, but it's pretty faint and very gray in that area, so you don't need a lot of it. Okay, I probably came too far down with that actually, because I'm looking at my picture and it's a lot more black showing, but oh well. Don't tell the bantam roosters people, because I'll be in trouble. Maybe I'll
We're
bring this.
gonna hear from the Rooster Society now.
I know, they're gonna be like that.
Gonna get hate mail.
The bantams don't have feathers. They're
There's
whatever feathers or
Gonna be cars driving by at night with roosters in it, just looking at our house. Hope they don't egg our house.
could happen, I guess. Okay. We're not allowed to have roosters in our neighborhood. Mark and I were just talking about that, but he decided he didn't want roosters. I was like, it would be fun, but then he was like, no, because then you have to feed them and take care of them and all that stuff. So
Yes, we're about to be empty nesters, and there's no reason to
add more responsibilities.
add more responsibilities.
This is true. This is true. So maybe we can go on vacation somewhere.
For more than at least 2 days.
Right. Yeah. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember the last time we did that. It's been a long time,
Golly, it's been what, 10 years?
at least.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we're going to add some of these. I added some yellow oxide to this gray that I had on my brush, and I'm going to add some of it to some of these feathers out here, just to kind of create a story of some things going on in these feathers over here. Maybe this one's got some things going here. There's going to be some feathers kind of coming out and around right here, but they're going to be blue, so I don't have to worry too much about those. I'll grab some brown and get a little bit of that brown going with it too. Yeah, there we go. Put some of this brown in underneath some of these feathers that are going to be blue. Help them pop out a little bit more. Just having a little bit. This is kind of our sort of highlight color, so it's not really going to be brightening up anything. We're kind of still keeping it dark because we want these feathers to read as black, but it'll give them a little bit of dimension. So it's very subtle. All right, let me clean out my brush. So we're at an hour. That's not too bad. We're making good progress on him. He's already coming along pretty nicely.
Yes, we are. Heavy on the we. Crucial contribution.
Exactly. All right, I think I'm going to take out some of these because I feel like these got too far over. It's going to bug me. Bring those back a little bit. Okay, I feel better now. All right, so these blue feathers, here again, kind of like what we did down here. I'm gonna make a blue-green, add a tiny bit of white to it, and a little bit of black to gray it out. And we'll add some blue to this one. I'm going to set my brush down and just pull it along that whole feather just to give it a little bit of a highlight. I'm not going all the way over the edge, so it's kind of just catching the light there. Let's do another one up here. A little bit on there. These feathers are like that blue-black color that I think it changed color depending on where the sun is catching it, you know. Got a little bit of green or a little bit of blue looking depending on the direction the sun's hitting it. So let's do some coming up from right here and over. Another one right here. And these ones don't have to match up to what's going on here. These are actually going to be kind of going over the top of the feathers underneath. So these are brand new feathers that we're putting in here. So don't worry about matching them up with anything we've already painted. These ones at least. We'll put a few like little random highlights there. And then another kind of right there. And that's pretty much all we're going to do. We don't want to overdo it with the blue. I'm going to grab the phthalo, the bright phthalo, add a little bit of it right there. And then I can go back in now that this is dry, and I can add some dark phthalo to over the top of some of these. Not all of them need it, but just a few. Just to really brighten that up a couple places. Let me grab some of the yellow oxide and make a green. And I'm going to add some of that over some of these too, just to kind of make that greenish version. Okay. And then let's grab some white. I'm going to clean out my brush again. I'm going to grab some white, make it gray with some little bit of black. There we go. And I'm not using very much paint on my brush, so I'm going to kind of dry brush sort of. I'm going to go over this one and just add a little bit of a highlight to that one, and we'll grab a couple more of them here, just to add a couple of highlights to a few of these feathers to make them pop out a little bit more at us. Try to make them make sense, you know, and they're all kind of going to be pointing down to this direction here. So, okay. All right, let's make our little V shapes down here. There's going to be several of them. This one's going to have one right up here that kind of comes up. There's going to be another one down in here. And I'm using this gray, so it'll kind of fade a little bit into the background. And these are going to kind of overlap each other a little bit. I'm just drawing V shapes. That's all I'm doing here. Like that. Okay, so there's the end of him. Now I'm going to, as I get closer to his body, I'm going to add a little bit more white. And I'm going to overlap these a little bit. Try not to let the lines, so if I have a line here, I'm going to, when I do my V shape, I'm going to try to cover it up so that I don't see it through the open space I'm creating. If you see any lines through, you can go back in with your black and fill it in. If that's making sense. I don't know if that made sense, but... Okay, so just adding a bunch more of these V shapes. Leaving a little space in between them for, so you can read and figure out what they are there. Okay, so now if I've got any spaces like this where I can see that undercolor through, I'm going to just go back in here with some black and just sort of fill in a few of these spaces so that it makes sense visually. So... Alright, and now I'm going to grab my white and I'm going to put in some more of these white feathers coming down off the head. Now I'm doing really bright, so I'm going to do another layer over the top of this gray, fill in any kind of gaps that I'm seeing. Try not to cover all of your dark areas, but if you're, if you've got an area that sort of looks empty, you can add a little bit more of your white, and that will help it. Keep your brightest whites along this back side. I found that the white got a little bit more gray as it came this way, so I'm gonna kind of keep these extra layer of white up here, kind of around the face.
We've had some people join us late, and they'd like to know, what brush are you using now?
This is an angle brush. This is a 3/8 inch angle Robert Simmons sapphire brush. So that's a sapphire line. Okay. Pretty good, I think. I might brighten up a little bit of this, and now that it's drying, I can see that it's kind of hard to see some of these, so I'm just going to go over a couple of these lines and just brighten them up a little bit over the gray, slightly. Well, I'm off camera there. You're supposed to tell me when I get off camera, honey.
Do I have to do everything? Jeez.
Okay. All right, we're almost there on their little rooster guy. I think I can add a little bit more of white down here now. Just a little bit. Right there. And these are kind of gray, so I'm just going to add a little bit of gray, a little bit more of that lighter gray color on this side. If you ever get to where you've added too much white and it just looks like a big white, solid mass, what you can do is go back in and add some dark areas. So I can grab my black and I can go back in and tap in a few areas with some black to deepen up and give it a little bit of pockets of depth, and then just go back in and set those back with some more feathers over the top or around the sides to set them in if they look like they're floating out there. Okay. He's looking pretty good, I think. I feel like I'm going to add some more white to this backside here in a minute, but I want to get his face going, and then we can add some more finishing feathers. I want to grab a angle brush. This is a 1/4 inch angle, and we'll put in the wattle and the comb. See, I remembered. I'm going to add a little bit of this yellow to my red and a little bit of white. It'll make it kind of a salmon-y red color. And we're going to just fill in this area here in the face. Right here, it kind of does this. The ear goes right here, I think. And then there's another kind of lump for the eye, and then it kind of tapers down into that beak area. And then it curves in toward the body and then back out for this part of it. I'm putting the light color on first because that'll just give me some contrast. I'll put the red on top, the really bright reds and the darker reds. This is going to curve around this way. This is starting to dry, so it's not cooperating very well. Grab some of the glazing medium, see if that'll help. Give it a little body. And then so it comes off the back of the head rounded there, and then there's another, it drops down, and there's another loop right here. So it kind of does this double loop thing there. There actually kind of comes almost straight down from the ear there, and then curves down there. Okay. Yeah. Okay, bring that out a little bit. And then the comb starts right there at the forehead, right where the beak is, and comes up and back. I'm just going to fill in that whole area. We'll have to go over with some feathers, but I'm just going to kind of put it in sort of choppy so that it doesn't look like a straight line, because you're going to see some sort of feathers over the top of it a little bit, so it's not going to be an even line right there. And the back end comes up. Curves back around, and then there's just a series of pointed peaks, I guess, in the comb. You can see why they call it a comb, because it does look like one a little bit.
And not a comb over.
Well, yeah. No, he doesn't have a floppy comb. It's not fallen over, so I guess that wouldn't be a comb over. It's straight. Really probably brought that out too far right there. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. We'll go ahead and put his beak in, and then we'll start finishing up the feathers, and we'll be done. He's almost... kind of figured about an hour and a half. It took me about an hour to do the example, but I didn't do as much detail as I did on this guy with the feathers, so it's about right. So for the beak, I'm going to use yellow oxide, a little bit of white, or actually let's grab this burnt raw, unbleached titanium. I don't know, can't think of the name. It's like when I call my son Scooter, Spencer Scooter all the time. Poor Spencer. Gets called the dog. And grabbing a little bit of burnt umber here too. And I'm gonna come out. The bottom part of the beak is a little bit darker, so I'm gonna grab a little bit more of that brown. Do that right up next to, let me zoom in even more for this face part. So this part is nice and dark right here. Burnt umber for the bottom part of the beak. And then I'll get the lighter color. Fill that in. Clean out my brush. And I could switch to my number 4 round right here if I want to, or even the number 2 round. Let me grab that. Make it a little bit easier to get in these tight spaces. So this is unbleached titanium and yellow oxide here. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow, cadmium yellow. I just feel like that color is not opaque enough. Not bright enough. There we go. A little bit more, and it's going to curve down. These paints are starting to get sticky on me. Not cooperating. There we go. Here we go. Okay. Let's grab that brown color. Spray my palette, that would probably help. And blend that together a little bit. Doesn't have to be a hard line. Okay, then I'm going to put a little bit more of the brown up here. And grab some white. Mix a little bit of white. Just do a little white highlight at the top of his beak, right there. That's good enough. And let's use that white color. Mix a little bit of red with it. And we'll put in his ear right here. This little white-ish, just not solid white. There. And then let's grab some really bright red. And we'll start shaping out this comb here. Bright red, we'll grab a little bit of black. Mix some of that in. The black is gonna come right up under. So if we had our circle right here, right, for the face, just pretend like that part right here is gonna get a shadow. Right up underneath the cheek. And I'm just gonna put that in with that wet paint that I just put in, I put in that dark red, the Pyrrole red straight. And I've just got a little bit of black that I've mixed in now with it to make a darker color. And that's what's going to go right here. Just make it nice and dark right there. Blend it a little bit into that. You see that? We'll do a little bit up here around the eye. A little bit above, all the way around, on top of the feathers. Set that back. Try not to outline it, but you do want a little bit of a shadow back there, so. And then I'm going to grab some of that bright, bright red again and go around this with that bright red. And right down there. Let's streak some of this darker color up in here, up in the comb, from the bottom up. Just a little bit of it. I can hear you over there laughing.
No, that wasn't a laugh.
Are you yawning?
That was a yawn. Let's get that clear.
Oh, okay. Sorry, honey. It's been a long day, I guess. We had to get up early.
Yeah, Chad is pondering what will be added to our mascot today.
Oh, we'll have to
So-
give him a rooster, I guess,
Or maybe just a comb.
on his head. That would be fun. Okay, I got the bright red here. I'm just going to go back over the top of the darker color here to tone that back down in. Blend it in a little bit. Let's grab some of the lighter color, mix a little bit more of the white with it. And we'll add some highlights up here, coming down from the top. And kind of blending it in as it goes down so it doesn't look like I've got lines in my comb, but top is going to catch a little bit more light, so I want it a little bit brighter up there. There we go. And then there's going to be a little bit of brightness right here on the cheek, a little bit right in here in this area, and a little bit underneath right there. All right, let's put in his eye. The eye is going to be two parts. You're going to have, we'll go ahead and put in the pupil first. And if you want to use the back end of a brush with a thin paint, like a craft paint, it works really well to make perfect little circles. The eye is just up above this ear, just above and kind of right in the middle of this section here. So if you go by the top of the beak, it's kind of right smack dab in the center of the top of the beak. And this is even with the beak. Okay, so get our little pupil in, and then we'll grab some of the yellow color. We'll make a gray out of it. Doesn't have to be super light, just has to be kind of a shade lighter or so. And we're going to just outline the outside of the eye with this color. Like that. I don't know if you can see that with the glare, but I'll even put a little bit of this in the beak spot right there. Right there. Get a little bit more white. See if we can add a little bit of a highlight to that. There we go. Make it a little bit more visible there. Grab a little tiny bit of white on the tip, just a little teeny tiny bit, and we'll give him a highlight in the pupil. Just a little dot. Let's put a little bit more white in our ear here, just slightly, brighten that up. Oh, I think this red needs to come down farther. I'm looking at my picture. This needs to come down all the way to the beak there. So I need to make sure that that's touching right there. Get it right. Anatomically correct. There we go. Now let's put in a few more feathers. So I'm going to grab some white. Sorry. And I think I'm going to use just a teeny tiny bit of yellow. Just a little teeny tiny bit. Like minuscule. But I think that will help brighten up some of these feathers back here. We'll go over the top of the comb just slightly. And just add a few more little bright feathers in here. We're about done. Any questions before we end? I wanted to say thank you to those who have made my first few days on Patreon amazing. We've had several people sign up right off the bat, which has been really great and makes us feel really loved. It's awesome. We really, really, really appreciate your support. It helps keep these videos free and helps me be able to do more fun stuff with y'all, and hopefully buy some new equipment soon, get a second camera, and do some other fun stuff. So,
And a Ferrari?
No, not yet.
No Ferrari?
Maybe someday. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll work towards that, honey. We're hoping maybe if we eventually Mark will be able to retire and come help me full time. That would be fun. So that's the long-term goal. I just was off. Yeah. the 10-year plan.
Yeah.
You never know. Could happen.
No, but yeah, it's been great. I mean, right off the bat, there's over 50 people signed up. The links are down below the description. The $1 level gets you access to the traceables.
Yes. So I'll have the traceable
videos from
for
now
this.
on.
Mm-hmm. Traceable for this will be on Patreon after the show. I'll create it. I usually will be creating the traceables for the current video the day of or the day after. They'll be up on Patreon, depending. But I usually use the actual finished product because sometimes I make changes after I do the example. So I feel like the finished product is the one I should use for traceables, just to make sure that it's exactly what I'm doing on air for you. But anyhow, so yeah, I'll have that, and the link is also up in the iCard. So if you see that little eye at the top or up in the corner of the video, you can click on that too, and it'll take you to the Patreon store, and you can get information. We've got a Facebook group that's doing all kinds of fun things. We're learning how to draw hands this month. That's our challenge. So, and by the end of the month, we're going to have a bonus video.
And Stickman even tried to draw his hand.
Stickman did try to draw his hand.
So
that itself is worth going and checking out the group.
Exactly.
See Stickman's drawing.
All the bonus Stickman footage.
Exactly. Exactly. So there's our finished guy. Isn't that fun? It wasn't too hard. Hope you guys try this. If you do, you can share it with me on my Thankful Art group. And what?
Stickman.
Oh, Stickman. Sorry.
Come on, don't give the outro. Really?
I'm just realizing I want a little bit brighter highlight on this feather anyway. So
Oh, good excuse. Good recovery there.
I am going to add a little bit better. Gray, blue. I want a little bit more oomph on this one. A little bit brighter. There we go. Okay, better. I'm feel better now. Okay, so Stickman. Oops, that's not it. Stickman is our mascot. If you're new to my channel, welcome. We're glad to have you with us. And after the show, if you click on my photograph, we hope you'll subscribe. If you click on my photograph or my name, it'll take you to my channel page, and it'll show you my schedule and all the other videos we've done. We've got over 100 and something, 120 I think now, videos to choose from, and from beginner all the way up to more advanced videos. And Stickman comes out once a show, if possible, and we add something to him. So he's getting a rooster friend today, I guess. It depends on what we're painting, so you can kind of see a progression of what we've been doing this month. We've got the hot air balloon up there, and
I see the dream catcher. There's a Christmas tree, coffee cup.
Yeah, we started him at Christmas time, so he's got a lot of Christmas type stuff.
It's got the fishing rod from the mermaid one. There's the birds from when you did the several bird videos, actually.
Yeah, we did a lot of birds lately.
You got the red high heels stiletto shoes on.
He's getting a little... Yeah, well, he got the stilettos because he was smack talking, so...
And the succulent over there, I see.
Yeah.
What's in his cup there?
Coffee.
No, but what's the balloon?
Oh, the balloon. Yeah, he got poppies that didn't come out very good.
Poppies.
All right, there's his chicken friend. He got a rooster. Oh, I mean, that's about as good as you're going to get.
All right, and then we'll close with some serious stuff here.
That's right. So once this dries, by the way, if you use chalk on this like I did, you can go back in with a damp cloth and just wipe off that chalk. It'll come right off. Just wait about a day or so that your paint has time to cure, so you don't lift off any of your good color on there. But anyhow, thanks guys, and we will see you Tuesday night. I have no idea what we're going to be painting, but it'll be a short beginner type video. Try to keep them short on Tuesday nights, and be sure to stick around for that. And thank you to all the folks that checked us out on Patreon this week. Really appreciate it. I'm going to throw up the end screen that shows our angels for the week. So that helped us out on Patreon. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.